当年你中正区了，前期上次刚接电这个，江南北嘛电子加速了，4万的是现在轮着小上节桥的初级桥那了，将就把对大年就是其他个技术这边。多了偏节上节这个小上节桥的初级桥那了，将就把对大年就是其他个技术这边创了，多了偏节上节这个小上节桥的初级桥那了，将就把对大年那个技术这边创了，多了偏节上节这个小。Okay, so we're going to do meditate on emptiness for a few minutes. Where is I? Try to find yourself. Where is I? You try to find yourself with your body, with your minds. Step by step from your head to foot. Where is I? You try to find yourself. Head is not I, hand is not I, shoulder not I, body not I, all body parts not I. So where is I? When we meditate on emptiness, we should think, oh, my head is, empty of true existence. My head is empty of inherent existence. My head is empty of independent, self-independent. All our different body parts empty of empty, as true existence as our head. Myself also empty of true existence. I also empty of true existence, inherent existence. That's why I cannot be found myself. I cannot be found I. Where is I? You must meditate deeper and deeper, 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 You try to find yourself from, your body parts. And there are so many different body parts, bones, flesh, bloods, and nervous channels, and four elements, and atoms, molecules, so many different, body parts. So where is I? You try to find from all these body parts. Also, sometimes you can meditate on only your head. Where is your head? Which part is your head? Head, depends on many different parts, different piece of parts. But where is our head? You try to find your head. Try to find your body. You cannot be found. Our body also you cannot be found. Body also, become like finally this same like zero. Where is I? You can find many different parts of your body, but you cannot be found yourself. You cannot be found I. Mentally, you separated all of your body parts. Where is I? It is like zero. It is like infinite space. If you do this meditation constantly, we can we can understand true nature of a body and impermanence and the truth, reality nature of ourselves, reality nature of mind, true nature of mind. This is best meditation. But according to the Buddhist viewpoint, we should meditate on emptiness with good motivation. bodhicitta motivation, compassion motivation. This is very important. Then this meditation can be part of Mahayana practice, you know. We should think I'm going to meditation for all the sentient beings, for the benefit of all the sentient beings. Well, meditation. As I mentioned that before, you know, if we do Santi practice with compassion, bodhicitta, then this practice meditation is the can become, you know, best part of Mahayana tradition, you know. Okay, thank you. As I mentioned that before, you know, if you meditate on emptiness in this way, then you will see true nature of your body, all body parts. You can see all different your body parts. After sometimes, hopefully we can see, you know, our body, you know, move very fast, you know, change very fast. All then these atoms, you know, molecules, you know, move very fast, you know. And as I mentioned that before, you know, after some time maybe you will have, you know, very special feel. Also you feel it like zero. Also you like maybe feel it like just infinite, you know, space. So so that's why, you know, the three most important things for practice Buddhism: listen and contemplate and meditation. Very important. Without listen, we don't have uh, any, you know, object of the contemplate, and we cannot do contemplate. Without contemplate, we cannot do meditation properly. So meditation is from contemplation, contemplation from, you know, listening. So first we listen from our teachers, then we contemplate, then we meditate, focus on something, you know, special, specific, you know, objects. So that's why these three things are very important for practice Buddhism. We cannot make separated these three things, you know, always should be together: listen, contemplation, and meditation. That means, you know, first you listen about emptiness, then you contemplate what is emptiness, then you meditate on emptiness. Then we can get something special consequence from, you know, our practice. Then you can get something special feeling. And also we should understand, that the three root points of death, according to Lama Tsongkhapa's teachings, Lamri Chemo, he said death is certain and the time of death is uncertain. At the times of death, only Dharma can help. We should, meditate on these three things. Very important, and we should learn more, about these three things. Death is certain. Time of death is uncertain. At the time of the death, only Dharma can help. That means Dharma practice can help us. Nobody can help us. So that's so as I mentioned that before. If we really want to practice genuine compassion, we should understand about these three things. Very important. Death is certain. Rich people are not everyone. Poor people, who have very powerful kings, queens, and president, prime ministers, everyone will die. That means that is certain. Nobody can run from death. Nobody can stop death. If you have a lot of money, you have a lot of power, very big power, but you can stop death. You can run away death. So that's why Buddha said, Lama Tsongkhapa said that death is certain. In our life, this life, everything is uncertainty. But only one thing is certain, certainty, that this is death. Death is certainty. Death is certain. So that's why, according to Buddhist idea, we have to do something for our, death, because we will die, of course. And we have many different causes of the death. Death is certain. Whether you are very rich, whether you are very poor, at the time of the death, it's the same. Everyone, cannot stop death, run away death, no, So, time is uncertain, and our life is uncertain. Good life or bad life is uncertain, but death is certain. Weather is uncertain, sometimes good, sometimes bad, sometimes cold, sometimes hot, sometimes rain, sometimes no rain, sometimes sunshine. But the death is certain. So that's why we should accept death is certain. Only we have one thing certainty in our life. This is death. But the time of death is uncertain. Nobody knows when we will die. Maybe after some time, maybe after a few hours, maybe after 1 year, maybe after 2 years. Nobody knows, Time of death uncertain. That's why we have to, do something you know, today, and we must be happy for the moment. Otherwise, we don't know we have tomorrow or not. Tomorrow come true or not, nobody know. Our life is very short. Within 1 second, just within one breath breath out and you know in. Very short. Life is very short. We cannot say life is very long. Life is just between breathe in and breathe out. So that's why anyway the time of death is uncertain. Nobody know when we die, because we have a lot cause of death. We believe food, this cause of survive, but of course, unfortunately, sometimes food also become cause of death. What is foods and drinks and everything can be cause of death. Medicine also can be cause of death. So we have a lot of death, a cause of death, condition. Our life is very easy to easy to change. So that's why the time of death is uncertain. So that's why Tibetan masters and India masters said that we must practice just now. We must start beginning today. Otherwise, we don't know we have tomorrow or next year. Nobody know. So that is uncertain, And at the time of the death, only Dharma practice can help. Nobody can help you. You have a lot friends, but they cannot help you. You have very big family, but cannot help you. You have power, money, cannot help you. If you have a very big name, reputation, fame, name, but cannot help you. Only Dharma practice can help you. Only Dharma can help us. If you have a good karma, if you have a lot of merits, they can help you. Nobody can help you. Nobody can help us. Really, So many people love you, but still they cannot help you. So many people want to help you. Many people want to support you, but nobody can help you at the time of the death. We cannot carry our friends, our money, property, power, names, nothing. We cannot carry with, our body with us, Our body cannot help us at the time of the death. We born alone, we die alone. This is, so that's why, at the time of the death, all the Dharma can help. All the Dharma practice can help. Really, Why, we cannot practice, properly? Why we cannot practice constantly? Because of we cannot remember, our death. We cannot remember, impermanence of death. We cannot remember these three things. So that's why, every day, every morning, every night, if you can meditate on these 3 points, then you can remember your death. Then you want to do something for next life. Then you want to practice. This is the best reminders for yourself. And this can motivate it to yourself to practice, constantly. Many people try to practice, but still, practice, cannot be pure Dharma because cannot remember, these 3 points, impermanence of death. Many people practice, but practice for this life, practice for good life, this life, practice for name, practice for money. All those practice cannot be pure Dharma without, understand impermanence of death, without remember impermanence of death. Whatever we recite some mantras, we do practice, but still cannot be pure Dharma. So that's why we must learn about death of this, impermanence of death, and we should remember these 3 things. Death is certain. The time of death is uncertain. At the time of death, all the Dharma practice, all the Dharma can help. Then really you want to, first you remember Dharma, practice. Then you want to do Dharma practice. Then this you want to do the Dharma practice constantly. And also you want to practice pure Dharma. For that why we should learn more about impermanence of death and these 3 things very important. So actually there are 2 different impermanence, subtle impermanence and gross impermanence. Subtle impermanence meaning is everything is change very fast with 1 second and instant. Many times change with 1 second and in instant. This is meaning of subtle impermanence. Our life, our body, all the times change. This is nature of impermanence. This is impermanent. But we cannot see, we cannot remember. Sometimes, but we can master. We should ask to ourselves, when I become, such old, I have now, I have so many, wrinkles. When start these wrinkles, and now I have so many white hairs. So when start beginning this, white hairs. that kind of the and impermanence. We should think about that kind of the impermanence, and that kind of the gross impermanence. Gross impermanence we can see, and we can understand, but still cannot remember the impermanence of death. This is a problem. We can see someone die, someone sick. We can see someone become very old. We can see foods become old, decay, bad smell, and trees die. We can see this kind of the gross impermanence, but still we cannot remember impermanence of death. This is a problem, isn't it? So actually, we really don't want to become old, and we don't want to become sick, and don't want to die. But nobody can run away from becoming old, and nobody can prevent sickness or death. We can take many medicine. We can treatment in a hospital, but we cannot prevent final sick, sickness of death. Nobody can nobody can stop death. Why? Because life is impermanent. This is the nature of impermanence, and we have lots of this kind of experience from our lives, but still we cannot remember the impermanence of that. This is because of ignorance. We have we had this kind of experience, death, birth, so many lifetimes, but still we cannot remember death of impermanence of death because of ignorance. Sometimes we cannot remember what we did in the last year because of ignorance. So because we don't understand well about subtle impermanence and gross impermanence. Therefore, first we should learn more about, understand, impermanence. Learn more, understand more about impermanence. This kind of the gross impermanence and subtle impermanence. Practically, examine this, very important. First listen and contemplate, then practically examining with our body, our life. This is very important. For example, so when we did, oh, my hair start to become white, and so when did the wrinkles on my face beginning? When? Maybe last year, maybe 2 years ago. No. When? This is very big question. When did my hair start white, to become white? When did my wrinkles on my face beginning? Of course, the start from the moment of birth, because this is the nature of impermanence. Just start from the moment of our birth. So everything start changing within 1 second, and then 1 minute, then within 1 hour. This is the nature of impermanence. Impermanent things start change from 1 second, For example, if 1 minute has passed, then our lives become, 1 minute shorter. If 1 hour, passed, our life, become 1 hour shorter. One day, our life will become 1 day shorter. It's very fast. Time never waits for us. Many people, think, oh, I will practice maybe when I will become old. Or maybe I can practice next year, maybe after 3 years, maybe after retirement. But unfortunately, maybe, we don't have this chance because of impermanence. So the practice of impermanence, we should meditate on this impermanent every day. Then you really want to practice compassion. Then you can realize, recognize, what is suffering. Then when you see people, then you really want to practice, compassion for them. Everyone, looks, happy, looks very busy and looks very happy, but still, they are, ordinary beings, suffering beings, have a lot of problems. This life is, something like nature of suffering. We can learn many things with this life. How to be happy, how to be free from suffering, how to be protect ourselves, how we can help others. Everything we can learn from this life, with our life. So that's why, Buddha said, we are the best teacher on ourselves. We can teach ourselves, we can guide ourselves, we can lead ourselves on the right way. We don't need, look for someone's, far away. Everything we can learn with this life, with our daily life. We have so many things, with this life, sour and sweet, and so many different, taste. Sometimes okay, looks good. Sometimes okay. Sometimes problem. Sometimes we can smile. Sometimes we cannot smile. Sometimes we can talk. Sometimes we cannot talk. For example, life is this is the nature of our life, So that's why we can learn and we can do many things with this life. If we want to learn, you can learn many things from this life, with our daily life. And as if you really want to practice practice of the practice Buddhist Dharma, and if you want to be this good means pure practitioner of the Buddhism, you must take refuge, with Buddha Dhamma Sangha. This is very important. The practice of taking refuge with, refuge with the Buddha Dhamma Sangha. It is really helpful, Especially this helpful time at the time of the death. Many Tibet masters said that, practice, refuge is the best, poor. In Tibetan, we say in Tibetan, poor, transfer, If you, at the time of death, if you remember refuge, if you practice refuge, this can be the best poor. This is the best, transfer. So, and our practice of, if you recite a mantra based on, refuge, then this recitation can be part of practice of Buddhism. Without practice, refuge, if you recite many mantras but still cannot be part of, practice of Buddhism. So that's why, first you take refuge with Buddha Dhamma Sangha. Then you try to generate, compassion and bodhicitta motivation. Then you start, meditation, recite mantra, whatever you want to practice. Then you can be practitioner of Buddhism, and your practice become, Dharma, pure Dharma, and this is can be part of the, Buddhism, Buddhist Dharma, So, as I mentioned that before, in some way, Buddhism is very easy, for us. We can recite a mantra. We can meditate on compassion. We can meditate on bodhicitta anytimes. But we need all those practice, meditations, recitations we should do, we must do based on refuge, take refuge with Buddha Dhamma Sangha. Then you can become Buddhist. Between, it's Buddhist and non-Buddhist, what is demarcation? What is, this is refuge. Refuge is, demarcation of the non-Buddhist and Buddhist. If you have refuge, then you become Buddhist. If you don't have refuge, you cannot become Buddhist. But refuge is not something commitment. You just believe in Buddha Dhamma Sangha, and you pray to them, request to them. This is the meaning of taking refuge with Buddha Dhamma Sangha. So we should understand, Buddhist refuge, practice refuge, and take refuge vows. This is different. Refuge vows means something, commitment. And taking refuge means, you believe in Buddha Dhamma Sangha, and you pray to Buddha Dhamma Sangha. You rely on, Buddha Dhamma Sangha. You believe, Buddha Dhamma Sangha is the best, your protector. This is a meaning of, practice refuge, taking refuge. So, as I mentioned it before, at the time of death, only, Dharma practice can help. That means, at the time of you remember Dharma, this can help you. if you have some good karmas, merits, this can help you at the time of death. So, as I mentioned that before, so so many things we cannot see, we should believe, of course, belief and faith is very important according to the Buddhist practice Buddhism, very important. Many Tibetan masters said that, without, faith, without belief, our practice is just like, dry seed. Dry seed, cannot give any result, cannot grow up any, fruits, leaves. So that's why, we need belief and faith in Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha, and Dharma and teachers, this is very important. And according to the Buddhism, so we cannot see many things, but this does mean, not existence. We cannot see many things. We cannot see tomorrow, but this does means, tomorrow is not existed. So that's why, of course, we can believe in next life and past life, because we can believe in, tomorrow. Exactly same. And as I mentioned, subtle impermanence is something like something we cannot see, something that changes from moment to moment, which means that, changes from the moment it is born, moment of the birth. And that is what is called, subtle impermanence. Something that does not remain the same moment is called subtle impermanence. This morning, morning Tashi and afternoon Tashi, evening Tashi, totally changed. No same. Very big change, but we cannot see. Our life has become very short, 1 hour, 2 hours, one day becomes shorter, but we cannot see. Very big change we cannot see. That does not remain the same, same moment is called the subtle impermanence. And something that changes many times in one moment and changes many times in an instant, called subtle impermanence. When we could see when we could see this gross impermanence, people die, house, collapse, trees fall to the ground, arms, break, legs break, but we cannot see subtle impermanence changes many times in an instant, 1 second. So according to Buddhist philosophy, for example, my name is Tashi, but morning Tashi and evening Tashi are different. Evening Tashi is not morning Tashi generally, The Tashi is present both in the morning and, in the evening. But the Tashi's of the later time is not the same as the Tashi of the earlier time, morning. The Tashi of the later times has changed a lot. This is the nature of our life. This is the nature of the impermanent. So that's why I mentioned we should understand that the three root points of the death is very important. You should be keep in your mind these three, these three things, 3 points, and you can recite. This can be your mantra, you know, like mantra, death is certain, the time of death is uncertain. At the time of death, only Dharma can help. Always you recite these three things. Then you can remember Dharma practice. Then you want to learn Dharma and practice Dharma constantly. Then if you have time to practice, you are very happy. You can be happy with practice if you remember these three things. This can be the best mantra and best reminders yourself to practice Dharma. This has power. These words has a special power to remember Dharma practice, And so, as I mentioned before, death will come, cannot be averted. This means cannot stop death. Nobody can escape death, And life cannot, be extended. Depends because, due to our karma, we cannot extend. Our life, is very limited. We cannot extend it beyond, 80, 90, 70 years, we cannot extend. But this, of course, this due to our karma, depends on our karma. We are, healthy. Our body is okay, healthy and very strong. But there is a, still, we don't have time to practice. This is a problem, isn't it? Our mind is strong, mind is healthy, but still we don't have time to practice because, we cannot remember, impermanence. And as I mentioned that before, life is uncertain, death is uncertain, time of the death is uncertain, because there are many, causes of death. And according to the Lamri, only very few causes of life, very, few causes of, survive, alive. We have a lot different causes of death. This, our bodies, our life, extremely, very, easily to destroy, easily to disappear, easily to change. So we should understand this kind of things to practice compassion. We should think very deeper, on nature of life, nature of samsara. Then maybe, hopefully we can generate compassion. Otherwise, no, no chance. Otherwise, very difficult to, practice compassion for all others, for all the sentient beings. Very difficult. When we see, beggars on the street, of course you want to give, some money, but still you cannot practice, compassion for all the sentient beings. Still you cannot practice for compassion for them. This is not genuine compassion. This is not compassion. This is not real compassion. As I mentioned before, this is a good heart. I realize, I recognize this is a good heart. Good person, good heart. But this is not a compassion. As I mentioned that before, we should understand, suffering is very important to practice, compassion. So according to the Lamri, first, mission, about the 8 different kinds of suffering. The eight types of sufferings are, the suffering of birth, the suffering of aging, the suffering of sickness, the suffering of death, and the suffering of being, separated from what is dears, families, parents, and relatives, and the suffering of, in a country, what is the unpleasant. We meet many unpleasant things, The suffering of, not, obtaining what one's desires. Many things we cannot, find. We cannot get as our wish. So many people, cannot wish, fulfill and cannot achieve, achievement in life. This is also suffering. The suffering of the 5, aggregates, suffering of the body. So, we need to meditate on these 8 types of sufferings and the 3 main points of death. Then we can remember Dharma practice. Then we want practice. Then we can practice constantly until to achieve something special goal, special consequence of our practice. So according to the Buddhism, meaning of death means, as I mentioned before, our subtle mind departure from our body. This is the meaning of the death. And the meaning of the birth means, in a Buddhism idea, birth is, considered to be from a conception to the mother's give birth. This is the meaning of the birth. Birth is, considered to beginning from the mother's, womb, moment from the moment of a child is conceived in the mother's womb. This is the meaning of birth. From the moment of the birth, we already start change. We have to experience the suffering of the birth from the second of womb of our mother. This is start experience suffering of birth. So many small babies also suffer a lot in the mother's womb. These babies has a lot problems in the mother's body. According to the Buddhist, for example, uh, when mother drinks something hot and cold, the baby suffer from the heat, from the cold. Also, baby get cold and hot in the mother's womb. And when the mother, moves the body, also, suffer from the fear. Of course, when mother give birth, the body suffering greatly from the pain of birth. This we call suffering of the birth. So many different suffering of birth. Suffering of old, suffering of age. That means that when we get old, we cannot see well, we cannot eat well, we cannot walk well, we cannot talk well. Everything lose mental, physical energy. This is a suffering of old. We lose interest to eat something, drink something, watching a movie, TV. We lose those interesting. This is a suffering of aging. Day by day, get older and older. Finally, we must die. This is suffering for all the suffering of aging. Therefore, we must do something for others and practice for before we die. Then we will die peacefully. At the time of death, we can be happy, die peacefully. So many practitioners, they can be happy and die peacefully. They will have peacefully, die peacefully. And the time of death, they can be happy, die peacefully. Many practitioners. This is meaning of at the time of only Dharma practice can help us. Many masters, practitioners, at the time of the death, still they are happy, still they can smile. Never fear of the death, Then they can accept it, this nature of our life. Because of course they did many lot of things for the death. According to their perspective, perspective, death means just change, like change cloth. And when we travel, we change a guest house. The same, mind is guest. Our body is, guest house. This is very easier for them. So as I mentioned that before, at the time of death, nobody can help. Only Dharma practice can help. If you go to the moon, if you cannot escape death. If you can fly, you cannot escape death. If you're going to understand, under the ocean, but you cannot escape to death. If you are king of the universal, you cannot escape death. But because we are human being, we can do many things for death. We can do preparation for death, our death. So that's why the Buddha taught. First, he taught about suffering. Many people, don't want to listen and don't want to hear about suffering. But we cannot escape from, suffering. This is a suffering, always with us. Whether you talk, whether you not talk, whether you listen, whether you not listen, but suffering is with you, always with you. So you have to accept this nature of our life, nature of suffering. So that's why we need to learn about the suffering and learn about the cause of suffering. Based on understands sufferings and cause of sufferings, then we try to develop ourselves and develop our practice, and meditations, and this is the best solution to be a happy person and a good practitioner, and this is the best, this preparation for the death, because as I mentioned that before, we cannot run away death. Shantideva say, if you can change, you don't need worry. If you cannot change, if you worry, it is meaningless. If you worry about death, it is meaningless. Because we have many solutions, we can do something for death. If you cannot change, so you don't need to worry. Worry is meaningless. Worry cannot help. But we are, for example, for me, I'm very lucky because I believe in past life and the next life. Example, So, of course, we can do something for next life. So we say, okay, this life is finished, coming in, but we can do something good in the. Still, we hope, that good life, good rebirth, higher rebirth. Still, we can hope we will have good next life, If you don't have next life, then very difficult, Then very difficult, This very big conclusion of our this life, So as I mentioned that before, this is very important. If you really want to practice Buddhism, you must take refuge with Buddha Dhamma Sangha. This is very important. But of course, you should learn about Buddha. What is Buddha? You know, and what is Dhamma, and what is Sangha. This is very important. And we should learn about the sufferings. And there are two different courses, you know, of the taking refuge in Buddha Dhamma Sangha. Two different courses, two types of courses. You know, faith in Buddha Dhamma Sangha, and fear to sufferings, of the samsara. This is two different courses of taking refuge with the Buddha Dhamma Sangha. So that's why we should learn more about suffering.
So it's a quarter to Geshe.
Finish?
It's a quarter to. So.
Okay, so if you have question, then okay, yeah. Good idea.
Doubts.
I have doubts. Big doubts.
Maybe it's okay, I can ask questions?
Oh, sure.
Thank you so much for
People
giving me-
online also, if you wanna raise your hands,
I don't think so. I need this. I can speak
you
louder.
can speak loud. It is for people on the computer.
Oh, really?
You can speak to him.
Yeah, I can speak directly
Yes.
to him. Okay. My question is on about Geshe said that morning Tashi, afternoon Tashi, evening Tashi are totally different. So I got little confusion that maybe he's talking about the time, or maybe he's talking about the individual Tashi. So maybe it's like, how to say, little confusion. Maybe it's showing the impermanence of time. So Geshe will explain me to make my confusion little clear out. This is my question.
Yes. No, I talk about Tashi is my name,
Yeah.
because I'm Tashi. This is my name. But morning Tashi Tundu, afternoon Tashi Tundu, and evening Tashi Tundu totally different. I means because the time is changed. With also my body changed, my mind also changed. So very big change.
Oh, I see.
So this is the meaning of impermanence, subtle impermanence, isn't it? According to the Buddhist philosophy, my name is Tashi, but morning Tashi and evening Tashi and different are different. Evening Tashi is not morning Tashi. Generally, the Tashi is present both in the morning and evening, but the Tashi of the later time is not the same as the Tashi of the earlier time. Yeah. Tashi, time of earlier, time of later, this is not the same. Because so many times change in instant. 1 second, moment change. That's why we cannot say same, I'm okay, dressing, general dressing. Of course, I am come from morning. I am come from afternoon until now. But already big change. This is impermanence of subtle impermanence. Yeah.
Yeah, I understood. Maybe he's talking about the time. Thank you so much. Thank you.
He's talking about the time
Yeah.
and about himself.
Yeah, he's talking about the time, subtle time. The time is impermanence, I think.
Not just the time, he also is changing.
He's also changing.
He's also changing.
Maybe,
Of course, my
yeah.
body changed, my
Yeah,
mind
yeah,
changed.
I mean, second by second, we are changing. That's why. Which means, yeah, I got it.
Sorry?
Older, a few hours older.
Yeah, few order and order.
Getting
1 minute passed and become, so 1 minute order, become order. If you, maybe you can see, telescope, isn't it? Microsoft, we can see, this change very fast. For example,
Another example could be like, oh, in the morning I have headache. After lunch I don't have headache. After lunch I'm sleep. Then I drink a coffee, I'm not sleep anymore. So I'm also changing all the time. Yeah. Good?
Yeah, good. Thank you.
and according to the Buddhist, our mind, is very, change very fast. The most, very fast, mind, always change like this. So that's why, many masters, what they call, monkey mind. Monkey mind means, just shaky like this, But we cannot, cannot see, we cannot recognize this. This how, change very fast.
You can talk.
Thank you, Geshe. It was wonderful to listen to you. So I think I have after 2 days I have a conviction. I think what you referred to compassion practice is mostly dealing with the mind practice.
Mind
training, isn't
yes,
it?
yes.
I mean, it's not like you're going out there right now and helping each and every people.
No.
But it's mostly to do with your formal practice and training your mind
Yes.
to have this compassion, and all the 7 cause and effect. So it's
Yes.
mostly wishing or the pure intention or motivation.
Yes.
So it's mostly dealing with the mind, isn't it?
Yes, of course,
This I have a now really deep conviction in this. Like it's
yes, actually, this practice of compassion is, part of the mind training, mental practice, not like, physical. No,
Physical
we
work.
don't talk about only, physical give something to other people, take care of other people by the physical, Many, connected to our mind, especially as I give, example this morning, Milarepa and many Tibetan masters, their whole life, meditate on a compassion in a cave. Practically, physically, they didn't, take care of all the sentient beings. Of course, they couldn't give anything to sentient beings, all the sentient beings, but still they fully developed compassion. That's why, as I mentioned that before, if you give something to the beggars and street people, but this is not means, practice compassion. That means practice compassion.
But
I mean, this is a good heart. This also very, very good action. Of course, we do this. We need to do this in practically, We have to others, take care for others. This is very important. But according to Buddhist philosophical view, this does mean, practice compassion for all the sentient beings. This does mean, practice genuine compassion. As I mentioned that before, compassion and bodhicitta, the highest part of mind training. As I mentioned that before, if you meditate on compassion, directly, okay, whether cannot help to others, sentient beings, hungry ghosts, hell beings, directly, But this is the very, very benefit yourself, effect to yourself. You can change a lot. You can develop a lot through this practice. Though according to the mind training, of course, this practice compassion, practice bodhicitta can be the very, very precious mind training, the best mind training, and highest mind training. Compassion, bodhicitta, tongle, tongle?
Tonglen, yeah.
Giving and take and give,
And meditation on emptiness.
Yeah.
Thank you.
According to actually, Buddhist, idea, if you recite mantra, you must this recitation turn to mind training. Should be have to change your mind. Otherwise, this become just verbal practice and physical practice. This is not that much, helpful, and have to change your mind. That's why we should practice based on good motivation, based on compassion, bodhicitta, based on taking refuge. Then you can change through this practice of recitation, recite some mantras. So many Buddhist old people, of course, they recite many mantras, but mainly they practice all verbal practice, not mental practice. This is very difficult to be mind training. This is still very far from mind. That's why some people whole life recite mantra in the cave, but when they come out, this is still same. Still mind is the same, never change. Very big change. What is become old mala, yeah, Phoenician and this nails. But still, delusions remain same as before enter to cave. Yeah.
You have a question?
So in my previous question about emptiness,
Okay.
If we go to Heart Sutra,
Heart Sutra.
Heart Sutra, it says form is emptiness. So we discussed about this part, I think.
Yes.
And then the second part, emptiness is form.
Very good.
What does my understanding is that we should not ignore form as well.
Okay.
But I don't know if this is.
Okay. According to those Buddha's teachings, actually Buddha taught 84,000 different teachings, isn't it? So that us this that Heart Sutra is the once main part of teaching of emptiness. Heart Sutra, direct this teaching from Buddha. This mainly talk about emptiness. And as your question, form is emptiness. Emptiness is a form. Form is not other than emptiness. Emptiness is not other than form. These form lines, the main essence of this whole Heart Sutra. This is core of Heart Sutra, heart of Heart Sutra. These form lines. So always we can practice only these form lines. Recite these form lines, meditate on these form lines. This is very important. Okay? So form is emptiness. That means, actually, I already explained.
Yeah, we explained.
Form is emptiness means form is empty of inherent existence. And form is, empty of true existence. Form is empty of, independent, self-independent. Okay? And indirectly, meaning of this first line is, form is just name. Form is just, conceptual imputation. This is meaning of, form is emptiness. Okay? Emptiness, form, meaning is, this does means, emptiness is a form, like, this kind of the form. That means, form and emptiness, same identity, single identity, same nature. Same nature means, same, empty of inherent existence. Form and emptiness, same, empty of, emptiness itself also empty of inherent existence. That's why form and emptiness, same nature, same identity, single identity. That's why Buddha said form is emptiness, emptiness is form. And form is not other than emptiness, emptiness not other than emptiness, a form. This is the meaning of this first two lines talk about emptiness. Second lines talk about form and emptiness, same nature. Okay, same identity. So everything is same, Here on these four lines talk about only form, only form, But everything is same. Form emptiness, cup is emptiness. My body is emptiness. This emptiness is empty. Everything is emptiness. Emptiness of mind, also emptiness. Emptiness of emptiness, also emptiness. For example, mind and emptiness of mind, same nature, same identity, single identity. Because in the reality, on ultimate nature, reality nature is the same. Empty of inherent existence. But as I mentioned that before, you must meditate on yourself, okay? Where is I? You must try to find yourself. This is, this is basic, meditation of emptiness. If you always meditation, keep try this meditation, you will, hopefully you will see emptiness. Yeah. Any question?
I think online there is a comment. Freya, do you want to say? Then you won't mute yourself.
What?
Hello.
Sorry.
I just wanted to say thank you so much for teaching for 2 days. And please keep on teaching and illuminating our deluded minds with your wisdom. Thank you so much, Geshe.
Thank you.
Simon, Taruna, Jay.
Yes, thank you very much. It's been a really good 2 days. And thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Geshe-la. It has been very enriching experience and so good teachings. Thank you, Geshe-la.
Dedication.
Yes.
Thank you, Geshe-la.
Thank you. Janche Senjo Rinpoche, Mache Bana, Chichewa Nyamba Mepaya, Kone Kondi Pewa, Show, Okari Rawa, Go Isin Kandi, Penandewa, Malin Join, Chiri Senwa, Tense Just, Japan Senta Patu, Tenju, Chisinanka Nepa, Androa Chisine, they say done in it. Dre Donga Sewa, Show. Sanje Nepa Chineva, Nunde Nele Tanju, Dre and Nembale, Pata Tunjoa Mepa Show. Thank you.